Welcome back to Sports Debates. It has been a hot minute, but we are older, wiser, and ready to give it another whirl. And it's just in time for the NFL playoffs, which begin on Saturday. This has been a heck of a football season. I've enjoyed it. It's been my favorite in a long time. And I'm really excited for these playoffs because it feels like we've got so many star-studded teams, and anyone can win. You've got the top dogs, but going down to the fifth, sixth seed, those guys are in just a good position to win it as the top seed division winners. So, like I said, they begin on Saturday. And so we're going to run through each matchup, just give our round one predictions for how we think the games are going to go, what players are going to step up, and see how they line up heading into the rest of the playoffs. So, just a refresher if you haven't seen the brackets or know who's in the playoffs. We'll start in the AFC. The Chiefs are the number one seed. Once again, the powerhouse of the NFL, although perhaps they had a little bit of luck on their side. The other division winners were the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Houston Texans. And the wildcard teams, the LA Chargers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the 7-seed Denver Broncos into the playoffs for the first time since 2015. So we'll start with the first game, which is the Chargers and the Texans. Now, this is a 5-4 matchup where the 5 is actually favored. While the Texans won the division, the Chargers were the better team at 11-6. They played well down the stretch and are carried by the number one defense in the league in terms of points allowed per game, just 17.6 points allowed to their opponents. They also have the top red zone defense in the league. Justin Herbert, phenomenal as always. J.K. Dobbins has been his number one weapon. And the Chargers are 8-4 when he plays, but injury concerns have held him back from playing a full season, really his whole career. Meanwhile, the Texans, while they won the division, they kind of took a step back from last year, especially C.J. Stroud, who experienced what we call a sophomore slump. 12 interceptions. He was sacked 52 times. The O-line did not have his back. Defense was their saving grace. The fifth fewest receiving touchdowns allowed in the league, fourth most sacks. So they have kept the Texans alive. 10-7 they finished. So, Emmanuel, I'm going to start with you. Who do you have winning this matchup?
I mean, honestly, hands down, it has to be the Chargers. The Chargers have an amazing offense, but also the Texans have struggled with protecting C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud has been sacked 41 times, second most in the NFL, along with being pressured on 39% of his dropbacks, which is third most in the NFL. Not only to mention they're missing their greatest wide receiver target, which is Tank Dell, who is out due to that horrible injury. Hope he gets better. All that's just too much to overcome, and they will lose to the Chargers.
I say the Chargers because I think they're one of the most balanced teams in the NFL right now when it comes to offense, defense, running, passing. I mean, the only way I see the Texans winning this is CJ Stroud just plays out his body. It's the only way. He has to throw absolute dots while being extremely pressured. He has to, he has to just be himself as he was the first year, but even beyond that, for them to even have a chance. So I had the Chargers 100%. I mean, look at the year they're having. Just because they're 5, we can definitely see they're one of if not top 3 teams.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in defense wins championships in any sport, and the Chargers have a defense that can win it all. The biggest question is going to be, is their offense going to be able to match that? They played the Chiefs twice this year, held them to under 20 points both times. So they're able to stop good offenses, but they lost both those games because they scored just 17 points in the first game and just 10 points in their second matchup. So Herbert doesn't really have an elite receiving core, but he's got a lot of young guys that can step up. We know he's got the talent. It's just a matter of the rest of the offense can really help him out there. And like I said, they have the defense to win it. Offensively, to be seen, but they're a sneaky pick. So then later that night, it's a big matchup, the Steelers and the Ravens. These two teams have been battling it out in their division all year. It was the Steelers at first. They started red hot. They won the first matchup in the regular season, but they've kind of hit a slump to end the season. lost 4 games in a row to close out the year. Russell Wilson started to not play as well as he did when he first took over. Meanwhile, the Ravens won 4 in a row to end the season, and they are carried by an elite rushing duo, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. They led the league with 187 rush yards per game. The defense has been really good since week 11, fewest rushing yards allowed in that span. The Steelers, on the other hand, strong defense as well. 33 takeaways led the league. They've got TJ Watt and a great secondary. It's to be seen, though, if the offense can help them out. So, Dwayne, who wins this matchup?
I say Steelers, 100%. And here's why. Yet again, I'm a heavy person on defense. And I think that their defense is going to be like, okay, is the Ravens passing good? Yes. But is their running better? Yes. So they're going to hone down on the running, relying on Lamar Jackson to throw the ball. And is he bad? No. But then that's where their offense kicks in. Listen, they didn't have a great end of the season, but being that he's been in the playoffs, he's experienced, I feel like we're gonna see a definitely better than what we saw in the last few games. Baltimore relies on Lamar sometimes a little too much. He's an MVP, don't get me wrong. But you if you rely on him too much, if you rely on Derrick Henry too much, and then you face a defense that's really going to get with you, you're going to lose.
Steelers have lost the past 4 games in a row. Now, mind you, all of them have been to extremely good teams. However, I do not trust in the Steelers defense at all. They were supposed to be the bright part on this dark team. Now, and they have been for the good part of the beginning of the season. Now they started to, disappear out there. They're having locker room problems. These guys just haven't been doing their jobs, and it's been really dragging down this team. And they're going to go against the Ravens with a high-power offense who's been absolutely amazing all season. I mean, come on. There's no way the Steelers are stopping them. It's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I lean Ravens just because I look at the last matchup when they faced off, and the Ravens won 34-17. So they really exposed that they can beat the Steelers defense. Steelers lost to the Eagles offense, the Ravens offense. So they're very talented, but these elite offenses have taken care of them, especially the Ravens themselves. Now, I do want to add another question here with the Steelers. Russell Wilson has been the quarterback for a majority of the season. He did really good taking over for Justin Fields, but in his last 4 games in that losing streak, just 4 pass touchdowns, 174.5 yards per game. Do you think you might see Justin Fields in this game if they need to, or are they going to stick with Russell Wilson and ride or die with him? Emmanuel, what do you think?
I think they're going to ride or die with Russell Wilson. However, I do believe Justin Fields should get the start, which may sound crazy because it is a playoff game. It's literally all or nothing. So I say you play the cards because Justin Fields is way more of a dynamic quarterback than Russell Wilson is at this current moment. He's able to make plays with his legs, and he's able to extend plays also because he has the threat of having a good arm, especially with the dangerous wide receivers such as George Pickens.
I feel like they should, but they're going to ride. I mean, that's just, if you know the Steelers, you know that's who they are. Like, it's not that they're known for making necessarily stupid decisions. They're going to do what their personnel. They're going to ride and die with that personnel.
All right, so then we get to the 7-2 matchup on Sunday afternoon, and it's the 7-seed Broncos against the 2-seed Bills. The Broncos have been the story in the AFC, battled all year, made it into the postseason on the last day, finished 10-7, 3-2 in their last 5. Their defense led the league in sacks. Their offense led by potential Rookie of the Year Bo Nix, who led all rookies with touchdown passes at 29. Although they kind of has faltered in the last 5 games, 6 interceptions over that span. So an interesting note there. It's a great story. Again, they're in the playoffs for the first time since they won it all with Peyton Manning back in 2015. So it's been a long ride for Broncos fans, but it's not going to be easy because they have to face Josh Allen and his dynamic Bills team. 42 touchdowns for Josh Allen this season. Their team scored 38 points per game in the month of December. I mean, they are an absolute powerhouse. They've also beat Kansas City and Detroit already, so arguably the best team in the league. according to that stat. They hang on to the ball well. Josh Allen might just win MVP this season. Dwayne, the Broncos have a chance.
Nah. And I'm just being honest. I mean, yes, they've had a crazy, great story. But it's Josh Allen.
Yeah, I got to agree with you here. I got to go with the Bills. Josh Allen has been a dog this season, has carried his team to victory countless times, and I don't think the Broncos have a chance to shoot him. However, I do believe that it is supposed to snow during that time frame in Buffalo. They are playing at Buffalo, which, Buffalo's known for their cold weather, and it's kind of their specialty when it does come to that sort of, weather. And I think they will dominate the Broncos, who probably won't be able to adapt to that situation.
Yep, I agree. It's Bills all the way, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this playoffs. Josh Allen recently engaged. He's going for the double ring this year. So then we get to the NFC. Sunday afternoon, the Packers in Philly to face our Birds. This is a rematch of the first game of the year in Brazil. Hurts is slated to participate in practice today. Just came in now. So he's on the mend to come up. That's been the big storyline for the Eagles in the recent weeks. Finished 14-3, 4-1 in their last 5. They've been on a tear since being 2-2. The rush game has been their specialty. Saquon Barkley, 2,000 yards. Hurts himself is just as good. We know that. The passing game has been criticized, but Hurts has shown that he can toss the ball. This was actually his highest passer rating of his career this season. So statistically, his best passing season. So haters can keep hating. The defense, they're absolute dogs. The Packers, they're not someone you sleep on, right? Jordan Love was hurt in the last game, so we'll see where he's at. Josh Jacobs has been their top offensive weapon as a running back, 15 rushing touchdowns for him. 11-6 on the year. Again, really good team. It's going to be hard for them, though. So, Emmanuel, who you got?
Got to ride with my Birds there. Even if Jalen Hurts doesn't play or Pickett plays, I have faith in McKee. Well, more that I have faith in the weapons that are on the Eagles' offense, such as Saquon Barkley, the amazing offensive line, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, even Calcaterra. He's a dog, by the way. Even those players are going to help McKee get the job done. Not only that, but the Packers are missing Christian Watson, Jair Alexander, and we all saw what A.J. Brown did to Jair Alexander week 1 against the Packers. He put up, I think, 116 yards on him. Who's going to guard A.J. Brown now? It has to be the Eagles dominating this game.
Eagles, 100%. The Eagles are 8-1 at home. The Packers away, 5-4, almost 500. First game we matched up with them. I mean, it was a good one, but at the beginning of the season, we were not at where we are now, and we are miles ahead of that. Yes, we are. I think our rating last time I checked in passing was not very high at all, and that was expressed throughout the season, and that was fixed at the end of the season. The Packers just don't have a chance defensively, one, and their offense is getting fried by our defense. I mean, it's just our defense has yet again been playing out their minds. We're 1 or 2 defensive rating. I mean, and the other person is the Chargers, who have been one of the most balanced teams in the NFL. So I mean, you're asking the Packers to play against a team where defensively you got no chance, and offensively we are peak at running and starting to get even better at passing. Go Birds all the way.
Yeah, I mean this is the same offense that almost beat the Chiefs 2 years ago, plus Saquon Barkley. So I mean, obviously some changes in the offensive line, but they're just as dominant. Obviously the Eagles are going to get trashed all day. That's what people like to do. But just like in 2022, every time there's been a criticism about this team, they've gone out and proved it wrong. Jalen Hurts can't throw. Went out and tossed touchdowns to both his receivers. And he's like, yeah, you want to see it? All right, I can throw. Hurts gets hurt. Can we score? Tanner McKee goes on an absolute run because that's how strong the offense is, that we can win with a third string quarterback that's never stepped a foot in an NFL game before, and we can go out there and dominate. This matchup is going to be easy. I think they ride easily to the NFC Championship, where they will most likely face the Lions, and I think that'll be their true test of the season. Because I think it's between those two for who has the most complete offense, and that game will determine it. But I think these first two rounds are going to be very easy for the Birds. And Packers, hell of a team, but just an unlucky matchup. Eagles rivals, the Commanders, face off against the 3-seed Buccaneers. So this is an interesting matchup, as once again, the 6-seed ended up with a better record than 3-seed. And so Commanders 5-0 to end the season. They want an absolute run. They beat the Eagles 12-5. Their offense, top 5 in yardage. Their defense, bottom 5 in run defense, and not a lot of interceptions, just 7 on the season, as did the Buccaneers, 4th lowest in the NFL. Jaden Daniels has been on an absolute tear. That's one of the reasons they made it into the postseason, and he's helped them be the best 4th down conversion team in football. Buccaneers led by Baker Mayfield, 10-7, 4-1 to close out the year. They have the 4th best run game in the league, primarily thanks to rookie Bucky Irving, who has been fantastic. Baker was an absolute dog this year, 4,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns. Their defense is a little banged up, but they've been a force to be reckoned with down the stretch. So, Dwayne, who you got?
I got Washington. I mean, I feel like offense can go band for band. I mean, we could go Washington. Like it's going to be back to back. And I mean, no offense to either defense. Defense has been struggling. Doesn't mean they're not existing. Jaden Daniels is a dog. Put him at any point in time. He's a dog. That's where I struggle. Like you're asking two offenses to go ahead and see whose defense does better. That's really what you're asking. And I just believe Washington has better offense at this point in time because of how Jaden Daniels is playing. Now, if he's playing the way he's been playing, 100%, it's going to be a down to the wire, and Washington is going to win. If he plays just a little less, Tampa. It's just the way it is. But 100%, I have my faith in Jaden Daniels. 100%.
Yeah, Dwayne, I got to agree with you on that one. I have faith in Jaden Daniels as well. I got the Commanders upsetting the number 3 seed in the Buccaneers. Honestly, the Jaden Daniels has looked phenomenal almost all season, except for the few times he truly displayed that he was a rookie and that he still had chances to grow. Though I'm going with the Commanders on this one, I can easily see the Buccaneers defense making Jaden Daniels look like a rookie like the Eagles did. Because the Buccaneers, I have faith in that defensive coaching. And I've seen the Commanders' flaws. They're there. And then you could probably see that during the Cowboys game as well last week. But I'm going to rock with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I'm actually going with the Buccaneers for this one. Now, this is going to be an offensive battle. I think both defenses are suspect, and I think it's just going to be an absolute shoot-off between these two. Normally, I'd go with momentum. If you've learned anything in the playoffs the last years in any sport, momentum wins championships, right? You see teams that are wildcard teams that sneak in there, but they're hot at the end. They ride through. Happens a lot in baseball. And the Commanders should be doing that. 5-0 to end the season, right? No one thought they were going to be there this year. Jaden Daniels was not considered to be a Rookie of the Year favorite, but here he is. But I lean the Bucks just because I think Baker has that dog in him, right? Now, I have a little bit of bias because I had him in fantasy football in the league. But every time I needed this dude to step up, he did it, right? And not only does he have a really great young running back, but he's got arguably the greatest receiver of this decade in Mike Evans, who just surpassed 1,000 yards for like the 11th straight season. Like, I can see this game going either way. And while Jaden is a rookie, like, he plays like a vet, and I don't think the playoffs are going to scare him one bit. But I think at the end of the day, Baker's just going to outlast him a little bit. There's going to be one mistake that Daniels makes that's going to cost him. It's going to come down to that, and the Buccaneers pull away.
Well, let me ask you this. Overtime, coin calls. Are you saying that whoever wins that coin calls wins the game?
Yes, because that's how it works now. It's stupid.
Well, that is true. Based on it being extremely offensive heavy, you're saying Washington's defense has no chance of stopping the
I think
Tampa.
they can stop them. I just like in Tampa,
Mm.
against Baker, who's put up like the best
Mm-hmm.
season for a Buccaneers quarterback outside Tom freaking Brady. I just think like it's going to come down to it. They're going to make fewer mistakes and be able to pounce on the young Commanders' offense once or twice, and that's going to be what it comes down to. But it's going to be a fun game. I'm excited for that one. So then finally we get to the Vikings and the Rams. Once again, we have higher seed being better than the host team. The Vikings, 14 wins as a wild card team, but they have been a great team all year. 14-3, 4-1 to close out the season. Led the league in interceptions. Sam Darnold, 41,000 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, and he gets to play his first playoff game. An elite wide receiver duo with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, 19 total touchdowns between those two. And they face a Rams team that kind of surprisingly ended up in the playoffs, a weak division. They were able to win it, but 10-7. Matthew Stafford and his boys string together a good finish to the season. 7-2 down the stretch in close games. That was their thing, winning out close games. They have an elite wide receiver duo as well with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. They've both been banged up a little bit this year, but the team is 8-3 when those guys are on the field. So, Dwayne, Vikings or Rams?
Got Rams. I believe in Matthew Stafford. I just do. Not to discredit any defense, but look at them too. I mean, just look at it. 8-3 when they are on the field, and mind you, 7-2 in close games. And I believe this is going to be a close game, 100%. So you're telling me to trust a team at the close game where there's been a team that's been winning in close games, and no discredit to Vikings, great season. Who do I trust in a close game? Rams.
Yeah, no, I can't agree with you on that one. I gotta go with the Vikings there. It's gonna be a tough matchup. I gotta agree. I gotta choose the Vikings, who just came off an embarrassing loss to the Lions. To be fair, the Lions have been embarrassing a lot of teams this season.
That's true.
Thankfully, they also did that to the Cowboys, which was fun to watch. I think they're gonna come into this game. The Vikings are gonna come into this game with a fire lit underneath them. The score of the Lions Vikings game was 9-31. The Vikings had multiple chances to score, but just couldn't. I mean, Justin Jefferson had a dropped a touchdown pass, but also it was mainly because Sam Darnold was overthrowing his passes. I mean, that score could have easily been, I don't know, maybe 27-31, something like that. It could have been a really close game. But if Sam Darnold stops overthrowing, also, mind you, he was under a lot of pressure. The Lions kept sending heat. So he didn't have much time to actually make the plays. But if Sam Darnold, that O-line can step up, Rams are toast. So now that we're getting into the end of this episode, we have some closing questions. Wild card team with the best shot at going all the way. Who do you have?
Chargers.
Chargers?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, well that's pretty boring. I picked the same thing. I ain't gonna lie. They're probably the best. They're probably the best team, best
Yeah,
wild card team to
yeah,
have the highest chance of
yeah,
going all the
absolutely.
way.
I say that or Washington. Either or. I like I can see them doing it, but it's not like
Who do you have as a surprise breakout player of the first round?
it's going to sound crazy. Crazy take. Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson.
I just feel like he will have such a great game against, like, he'll have a great game versus the Ravens, do terrible against anybody else.
It very well could happen.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I have to go Quentin Johnson. Now, this is going. That's probably a crazy take for most Chargers fans and most people that watch the NFL. That's probably a horrendous take, saying that he has huge problems with dropping the ball a lot. But last week he did record 13 receptions, having 186 yards on 14 targets. If he can continue to be a reliable wide receiver for Justin Herbert, it's going to make them all the harder to beat. As well as they already have an elite offensive receiving threat in Lad McConkey and adding a potential asset of Quentin Johnson, who has been, with all due respect, been disappointing this year. I find out that team will become extremely better, and I feel like he will be the surprise breakout player of the first round. Last question we have: who do you have in the Super Bowl?
Oh, Chargers Eagles.
Chargers Eagles.
I had them beating Kansas City. First of all, Patrick Mahomes is not having a Patrick Mahomes year, which they rely on heavily. On top of that, as I keep on saying it, the Chargers have the most balanced team. A balanced team versus a defensive heavy team because Patrick Mahomes is not having the necessarily greatest year.
That's kind of crazy to say,
No.
especially knowing the Chiefs have such black magic working for them. My Super Bowl matchup though has to be the Lions, which I'm going to sound like a traitor to Eagles fans. I know I don't have us there. Lions versus Ravens.
What?
It, it,
Oh my god.
you know, I chose the Lions because they have a divisional bye or they have a bye for the first round of the playoffs. They needed this bye. Their team has been banged up, yet they still been able to produce time and time again against good teams, even though they're horrendously hurt. And I think now that they have the time to rest up, they're going to be a different animal in the playoffs. And I feel like Lamar Jackson, he's not satisfied with his MVPs. He wants that ring, and he's going to get it this year.
I'm not disappointed at the Lions pick. I'm disappointed at the Baltimore pick.
Really?
The
I mean,
Lions, I see that. That's reasonable. I mean, they're having crazy season. Like that they're doing great. But Baltimore?
look, the addition of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson on that team, I feel like they have enough. Isaiah
Oh,
Likely has been a baller. Mark
but
Andrews
look at
out
the
there.
rest. But look at the rest of the teams they have to go against. The Chargers, possibly. That means they got to beat the Steelers. Possibly the Bills. That you're talking about teams that have better defensive sets than they do.
A lot of teams have a better defensive set than the Ravens, honestly. But I feel like that high power offense that they have, it's unstoppable. You can shut down the run. You can shut down the run and try to slow down Derrick Henry because you can't shut down Derrick Henry. It's
That's fair.
impossible. So you can only try to slow him down. But then when you do that, you shift your defense focus to that. Then you have Lamar Jackson, who's a capable runner himself and able to throw the ball down deep anytime to his wide receivers or tight end with Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, or even Zay Flowers. That offense to me is just too high powered. I can't bet against them, except for when they play the Lions, who I think is even more dangerous with the elite wide receiver Amon Ra and obviously their quarterback and their running back as well.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, guys, this is the first time in a long time. So we appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you, and we will see you the next time.